It's a Friday. You know that Duke basketball is always making waves in the recruiting world. We got to bring Brandon Jenkins back on. Jon Scheyer, he recruits every single day. It never stops in the Duke basketball world.
Hi, everybody. Dick Vitale. Hey, make sure you listen, man. To Locked On Blue Devils with J.J. Jackson. He's awesome, baby.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. My name is J.J. Jackson. It's so great to have you here with us today on Friday, September 12th, 2025. Locked On Blue Devils is your one-stop shop where we discuss everything going on inside the life of Duke athletics. And on today's show, we're going to talk some Duke basketball recruiting. I know on Fridays, you guys have loved when we've had Brandon Jenkins, a national recruiting insider from 247 Sports, on the show. So we'll run those numbers back up and talk all things Duke basketball recruiting with some big-time updates from Jon Scheyer throughout today's show. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to follow and subscribe to Locked On Blue Devils for free, wherever it is that you get your podcasts. Be sure to leave us a 5-star rating and written review. Also, watch our show each and every day on YouTube. Like these videos, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our YouTube channel as we continue to grow the Locked On Blue Devils community. So without further ado, let's bring him on into today's show. The aforementioned Brandon Jenkins back with us once again. Brandon, it's so good to see you, bro. Everybody loves when we get to talk about recruiting and the future of this Duke basketball team. How are you doing, man?
Man, I cannot complain. I'm happy to be on here with you, man.
Absolutely. Let's get after it, bro. Let's talk about Duke basketball. Still no commits yet in the class of 2026. As we've talked about, college basketball is changing so much. You want to keep some spots open for the transfer portal possibly at the end of the year. But looking forward to season for Duke, it feels like they're going to have chances to kind of build a class together.
Yeah, absolutely. As we know, they always recruit at a powerhouse level. They're prioritizing a bunch of guys that fit their system. Like we mentioned in the past, they might not be the tallest of dudes that Blue Devil fans have gotten accustomed to in the last couple of years, but still, they're recruiting a crop that can help them win for years to come.
Yeah, we've got some updates to get into that we want to let people know about. Obviously, Bryson Howard is someone that you first brought onto our radar here on the show several months ago, and his recruitment is heating up in so many ways. I know that he's recently had a visit to Chapel Hill, 8 miles down the road from Durham, where he needs to ultimately end up. But the Tar Heels were in, and you've got a story up about recent conversations with him about where Duke stands in the recruitment of all of this. So kind of give us the latest on Bryson Howard.
Yeah, 6'5" wing out of Frisco Heritage. One of the, if not the biggest stock riser of the grassroots season. He recently just canceled his visit to Texas. I think both parties just decided to part ways in terms of the visit. So now that's remaining on his schedule is Duke, Houston, Kentucky, Tennessee, and UConn. But according to sources, I don't expect the Tennessee and UConn visits to happen. I think we're looking at a 4-school race here between Duke, Kentucky, North Carolina, and Houston. Obviously Houston has traction there. Duke is going to give it their best shot as well. The North Carolina visit seems really promising from what I've been hearing. But at the end of the day, I don't think that there's no clear-cut leader here. Obviously, Kentucky, they're going to make their pitch as well with them being a blue blood like themselves. So I don't think there's a clear-cut leader here, but I could see this being a 4-school race for Bryson Howard.
Bryson Howard is the son of Josh Howard, who played in the NBA for a long time, notably with the Dallas Mavericks. He played in the ACC at Wake Forest. So it doesn't seem like this is going to be a legacy recruitment at all. Unfortunately, Steve Forbes and the Demon Dinkins are a little bit far out of the race. But you mentioned just the size of Bryson Howard at 6'5". Give us a little bit more what stands out to you when people turn on his highlights. What type of player is Bryson Howard?
Yeah, we're talking about a dude who didn't have stars on our site at the beginning of the grassroots season, and now he's a 5-star recruit. So the labeling speaks for itself. He's a guy who shot 48% during the EYBL season. I think 45% for the whole grassroots season. But a southpaw swing man who is physically strong, capable of guarding multiple positions, can get downhill. I mean, he plays with a great motor, but I think the reason why coaches love him so much, and the reason why he fits in in a variety of systems is because of his ability to shoot the basketball. He shoots it at a high clip. And in addition, he has a +7 wingspan, and he's young for his age. So, he has all of the markers to be attractive to high major coaches.
Are there any Duke players that come to mind when you watch Bryson Howard play this is always a fun question that you and I kind of think about. And is it often you said lefty, right? So
yes.
Do you immediately jump to RJ Barrett? Is it Zion? Or is he just kind of a one of one that you've seen from a Duke perspective?
You know what? Off the top of my head, I don't have one. I wouldn't say RJ Barrett just because I feel like RJ was more dynamic. He brought more size to the table as well. And he was more fluid as an athlete. I don't have one off the top of my head, but
And sometimes you don't. Sometimes
yeah, absolutely,
on their own. But it is always fun because there's such a model that Duke kind of goes after from time to time for these players that I never know when one would come to mind. So really excited to see what Bryson Howard is able to do. Shout out to I hate to do this, but I mean North Carolina actually being in a recruiting battle with Duke. We haven't seen very many of those in recent years because Duke has been so dominant against the rivals on that front. I know he was praising the family feel that he had in Chapel Hill. Yeah. There's a brotherhood family feel that you'll get to experience in Duke. But what you're basically hearing, Brandon, is that Duke is still very much in the running for Bryson Howard.
Absolutely. And, I think that he's somebody that the staff is very high on. Like I said, just the systematic fit within his game. And I think that's the reason why he was so widely recruited this summer. His ability to shoot the ball and have a college-ready body from day one. That's something that, you don't really see every day. And he brings a low-maintenance approach. So I think coaches will find joy in coaching him.
Okay, another player. Deron Rippey Jr. is a guard out of Blair Academy in the New Jersey area. Duke's been in the mix for him. We talk about what he could bring to the table for the Duke basketball team. I'll let you highlight that. But notably, Rippey has recently canceled a visit to Alabama. So many of these guys have built, like we were talking a couple of weeks ago, 11, 12 different schools that they said they'd go visit. Now those lists are being cut down a little bit, not actually going there. Where does Duke currently stand with Deron Rippey? And refresh our memory the type of player he is.
Well, yeah, they still have the visits scheduled for October. And so obviously, they're gonna make that thing happen. They're gonna put on their best show for him. But
and John Shire and Tyler Thornton have had in-homes with Deron Rippey Jr. in the last couple of weeks. I know you had some information on that too.
And who better than two dudes who ran points for the Blue Devils? You know what I mean? So like they have the experience of running the show in Durham. But as of right now, he just canceled the Alabama visit. Our Travis Branham just gave an update on him. It looks like Tennessee, NC State, and Miami are the three to look out for. You can even see Louisville jump in the picture. Obviously with him being an Adidas athlete, that ties to the whole school sponsoring will probably play a factor in his recruitment. But at the end of the day, like I always say, Duke is Duke. And you're talking about a 6'1" powerful guard who loves to get downhill, and he shows a true love for the game. He'll be one of the more exciting point guards to watch, and is one of the more exciting point guards to watch in the high school game right now. Brings a lot of confidence, and I think Duke will have a chance to, jump in the picture and shake some things up within that recruitment.
I think it's pretty clear that Duke's making a full court press to go after. I mean, the in-home visits that they've been having as of recent weeks feels like this is a guy that they definitely want to prioritize.
Absolutely. But, they're also prioritizing other guards. So the domino effect can play a part there. You just never know, especially in this day and age, recruitments when it comes to the wide scope of who's on, these teams' boards. It just gets really fluid. And, one person deciding to shut it down can affect the next. So
the names we bring up the most here are Deron Rippey Jr., Jordan Smith Jr., who we'll get to in a little bit, Bryson Howard, Austin Goosby. Rippey, or is it more you're paying attention to what happens with Jordan Smith and Austin Goosby, or is there what domino do you think would fall that would sway Deron Rippey one way or the other towards?
I'm looking at Jordan Smith and Austin Goosby, but I think Jordan Smith is going to wait this thing out for a little bit, so that's going to be interesting. And then with Goosby, taking the late August visit. Still earlier than the rest, though.
Right.
That has my attention, too, just because I know that the staff made great impressions on him and his family. So it'll just be interesting to see how this thing plays out and how these commitments affect Rippey and his family.
All right. Well, we'll have some more updates for the Duke fans out there. I want to talk a little bit more about this 2026 class and some guys to be aware of in the class of 2027, and we'll continue that here in just a moment. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at DoorDash. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. For Duke football, Andrew Anthony recently delivered in a big way, scoring his first 2 touchdowns at wide receiver for the Blue Devils. When the pressure was on, he came through. No hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching week after week, this performance wasn't a fluke. Andrew Anthony is on a streak. And just like Anthony delivered for Duke football, DoorDash delivers for you on Saturdays. With DoorDash streaks, you could save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day. Only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. DoorDash is a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. All right, Brandon Jenkins is here with us, a national recruiting insider for 247 Sports, talking Duke basketball recruiting. We just talked about Deron Rippey Jr. Playing on the Adidas circle and full court presses being laid by some of the Adidas schools in pursuit of him. Explain that a little bit to us, man.
Absolutely. I think it's more from a shoe company perspective, just the comfort of seeing these high school players through. I mean, they sign them to these early deals while they're in high school. So I feel like there's a comfort level keeping them within the brand, of a big-time university. We've seen it with Darren Peterson last year. Adidas-sponsored athlete goes to Kansas, notable Adidas school, notable blue blood. And so I think it's just one of those things where they want to keep the trend going, and that can play a factor in these prospects' recruitment.
But what people would say is that also it can't, like they're the outliers there, where this past season, Cooper Flagg goes to Duke, signed as a New Balance athlete, and still competes for Duke being a Nike school, wears Nike throughout the season as a Duke basketball player. And then now he starts his NBA career at the wearing New Balance, right? Going back to where he's got the personal deal himself. I think I know you're way more plugged into this stuff than even I am, Brandon, but it's so fascinating to me that, you can still be signed as an athlete to your own deal. You just got to wear a certain shoe while you're playing games for the school and then kind of go back to that deal.
Yeah, I think that's just an example of, I believe Cooper was signed with CAA, if I'm not mistaken. It's just an example of Cooper, his family, and his agency understanding Cooper's leverage. I mean, at the end of the day, he was the number 1 player in the country, and somebody who could potentially be looked at as a generational talent. That is the best is yet to come for him. So, but yeah, I think that's just an example of a prospect understanding his leverage. Speaking of New Balance, I believe Jordan Smith Jr. is a New Balance athlete right now, and I know that won't stop the Blue Devils from recruiting him. He's got to be the top dude on their board.
Yeah.
Just, factoring in his status. So, just everybody is different in this space. But it's just one of those things where it can play a factor, especially in today's age of the NIL era.
Jordan Smith Jr. at St. Paul VI. They're in the DMV area. That is where Patrick Gongba, Darren Harris, Jeremy Roach, Trevor Keels. I mean, there has been a big recent pipeline from Duke over to playing basketball for the Blue Devils. And when you look at Jordan Smith Jr., he has long been at the top of the radar for Duke. 6'2" guard. Tell us about his game and what pops.
Yeah, man. Just a monster of a prospect, 6'2" guard out of Paul VI, who plays for Team Takeover. And one of the things that's interesting about his recruitment is when you're looking at Paul VI and Team Takeover, as a unit, I believe that they send kids to places where they feel comfortable. And with so much ties to the Blue Devil fans have to feel a sense of confidence just in this recruitment race. I know Arkansas is probably going to be the additional player. John Calipari obviously has a history of bringing in top tier talent. But this is one that I would expect Blue Devil fans to be confident about. I would endorse them to feel confident about. Like I said, a 6'2" monster of a prospect, long arms, plays with a great motor, can play on and off the ball and affects the game in so many ways. Just a dude who brings the energy of somebody, 10 inches taller than him, to the guard spot. And, he's very fun to watch. He's the only person I know who can make highlight plays without scoring. And, he has a winning pedigree, and he embodies everything that is about, making sure that dubs are secured.
I'm ready to get this commitment, Brandon, because we've been talking about Jordan Smith for so long. And, you make the PVI connection of the school and how long Duke's been in the race for him. And that sort of, we can only say it so many times before it's like, all right, now go ahead and commit. Go ahead and make this decision.
I'm waiting because, we've done this before, just talking about prospects that they've been recruiting and, recruits that I feel like are leaning towards, Duke's way. And then when it actually happens, it's like, we're finally here. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's a vibe for sure.
We need it. And I'm excited to see the decision that he ultimately makes. Is it something that's coming soon, or does it feel like Jordan Smith and the rest of these 2026 guys want to wait still?
I would just speak for Jordan Smith. Just for him, I think he's somebody who might wait it out, just see where the dominoes are falling, see who how rosters are projecting and how, just gaining more comfort with the style of play. Obviously I think there's some familiarity there. He's been heavily recruited ever since his freshman year, maybe even beyond that. So, but I do see him waiting it out and just seeing him personally, just seeing how dominoes fall with the other 2026 prospects.
Yeah, one of those guys is Austin Goosby, who, as you said, has already been on an official visit. He went at the end of August. He was at a football game this season for Duke to open up the year. It was ProDevil weekend where Duke had Cooper Flagg, they had Paulo Banchero, they had Jason Tate. Duke brought everybody back.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about Austin Goosby.
Yeah, I would say the pros in the gym definitely made an impression. The alumni, I believe, even Coach K may have been in the gym.
He was, yep.
Yeah. So I know that made an impression on him, and that brotherhood. I mean, that just does something to these high school recruits, right?
But that was pretty impressive because, we talked about it going into the weekend that hey, it's ProDevil weekend, let's move it up, let's make it happen. We knew that it was guys are coming back. You don't really know every time which players specifically are coming back, right. But now the whole world. And certainly NBA Twitter circles, everybody is now seeing the clips that Duke put out there. It's like, holy cow, this is Cameron Boozer playing pickup casually in the gym with Paulo and Cooper Flagg. And it's it's different at Duke, man. It's just different.
Yeah, man. I always wondered the mindset of these college kids when they go against legit pros like Apollo bench. We're not talking about a dude who's a role player. Paulo isn't a role player in the league. He's
already made an all-star team.
Yeah, he's a legit dude in the league. You know what I mean? And their mindset just to play with so much confidence and composure just lets you know how good those players really are and how they project to be this upcoming season. But yeah, with Goosby, a 6'5" combination guard, does a little bit of everything, needs to work on the jumper, but he's one of the more fluid movers in the class and just a guy who hangs his hat on, doing the little things to help a team win. One of my biggest concerns was with Duke's pursuit of Jordan Smith, how it would work with them recruiting Austin Goosby, but the staff is pretty confident that the two could play together and they're pursuing it as such. And he's somebody that the staff is really high on. And when it comes down to his recruitment, they got a lot of motion. I think Texas gave Goosby a good visit last weekend. But Duke is still in there. I would like to say that Duke and Texas are in front, but he still has a Baylor and BYU visit ahead of him. And those are two schools who obviously with Baylor, with their history of getting first-round draft picks and BYU in this NIL era being a powerhouse that they are, they have a chance to make some waves themselves. But, from what I heard, Duke made a great impression on Goosby and his family.
We'll see how this recruitment continues to go there for Duke basketball, trying to get Austin Goosby to commit and be part of the brotherhood. Glad to hear that it did work, that he really enjoyed being there for ProDevil weekend and around those guys. And that's what other schools can't give you an opportunity like that, man, on an official visit.
No, they can't, because I'm over here thinking about the dudes who weren't in the gym, like your Elton Brands, Corey Maggette, right? Corey Maggette.
Yep.
Grant Hill, Mike Dunleavy, Shane Battier's, Jay Wood. And, the dudes that weren't there, Kyrie Irving went to Duke. You know what I mean? That's one of the more exciting players. You just can't.
I would have stayed in that circle, Brandon, because I'm glad, you went back with Elton Brand and Corey Maggette and Grant Hill and all the guys, right? JJ Redick. You could go in that era, Carlos Boozer, Shane, we could go on and on and on. Guys that are in the NBA that weren't there, that he could have seen play, and Goosby was in the mix. Duke didn't put out any clips there of Austin Goosby getting up and down. We're not going that far where we're going to put this recruit out there for the world to see and pick up. But Kyrie Irving wasn't there. Zion Williamson wasn't back in the gym playing pickup when he could have been. RJ Barrett wasn't in the gym playing pickup when he could. There are so many guys still in the NBA that didn't even get back for ProDevil weekend, man.
It's untouchable. And
it's insane.
I guess those recruits feel it in the air on the visit, and it's hard to turn down.
Yeah, no kidding.
That one is going to be interesting to see. Because obviously Austin has a brother that is a lineman at Texas. And whether
on the football team. Yeah, that's an interesting tie.
Yeah, and so I know the pitch from their point of view is that they want another Goosby on campus. And I mean, how can you beat that when the family is pulling up there every Saturday to go watch, their other son play football? So, I mean, there's obviously a comfort level in Austin, but no pun intended, Austin is a basketball player. And so, it'll just be interesting to see. But I like Duke and Texas's chances in that one. That'll be interesting to see who can battle out to get the commitment.
I know that Duke doesn't hold the same reputation in the football world that the Texas Longhorns do, but we've got an up-and-coming football program that if Big Bro wants to transfer and join the Duke football team, we could still have the family ties. Just this time in North Carolina, man. We can.
You hear that, Trevor? That's a pitch.
Yeah.
That's a pitch, man.
We got to make it happen. All right, let's take one more time out, and then when we come back, who are some other names that we're not talking about that we need to in the Duke basketball recruiting world? Locked On Blue Devils here today, brought to you by our friends at Mazda. You can just move through life, or you can find things that move you. It's your choice. You can choose to get out there, choose your people. You can choose to go for it, like really go for it. Just choose to do something that moves you. Mazda crafts cars for those who choose to do more than simply move. Mazda, move or be moved, a proud sponsor of Locked On Blue Devils. Brandon Jenkins hanging out with me today from 247 Sports. We're talking Duke basketball recruiting. All right, we've Bryson Howard, Jordan Smith, Deron Rippey. Just talked to Austin Goosby. Any other 2026 guys to highlight? I know in the past it's been Cam Williams, Christian Collins, Brandon McCoy Jr., Mika Murinen. But it feels like the first four we've highlighted are the highest guys that Duke's in pursuit of.
I think those are the main ones that deserve the most attention at this point, especially just with the recency of, the visits that are taking place and that will take place. I think those are the prospects that the staff has their eye on. Obviously, Cam Williams just finished his Texas visit as well. He's a targeted front court player who has moved up as a consensus top 5 player in the country. Had a big time summer. But yeah, I know the staff is really high on the guards that they're recruiting, and it'll be interesting to see how things play out in the next couple of weeks.
All right, so let's look at 2027 because some updates that we want to talk about. We've already in past weeks with you highlighted Marcus Spears Jr., who's coming out of the Texas area. Duke's been involved in his recruitment a little bit. But yesterday, we've got news as of yesterday with John Shire being in school visiting with Bruce Branch III and Nasir Anderson. These are a couple of top 2027 recruits. Tell us a little bit about this.
Yeah, Bruce Branch, the number 1 player overall in the class of 2027. He earned the spot after Baba Oladotun reclassed up to the 2026 class. And was somebody who was in the mix for the spot when Baba was in the class, so that should let you know how talented he is. He played up in age level for the Compton Magic on the Adidas circuit. 6'7", big wing, prototypical skill set for the modern era of college basketball and beyond that. Just a guy who could stretch the floor, play off the bounce a little bit. And he brings a lot of upside to the table. And so I think Duke is locked into what he can become. And that's why you're seeing John Shire so attentive to his current level of production and what he can be. And then with Nazir Anderson, this might be one of my favorite players in the class.
Really?
Yeah. No, this dude is insane. We were at USA Basketball a year ago. 6'2" point guard out of the Atlanta area. He went to Norcross High School last year, and he's going to Prolific Prep this year. But yeah, we were at USA Basketball last year, and after the first day, he was just running point he's a pit bull of a guard. So he was just being a pit bull, touching the paint, locating his teammates, plays with a lot of athleticism that may be a little bit sneaky. At the time, it was sneaky. Now he's grew a couple of inches and he's a tank. So now you probably will expect it somebody of his stature. But at the time, he was getting above the rim, just being a dog on both ends of the court. And it came to the point where the next day, that was the first day. So the next day, the coaches asked all the campers, who would y'all say is the biggest dog in the camp? And they all pointed at Nazir. And so, I mean, that just lets you know
get
that
him to Duke.
He's highly respected by his peers. I mean, and he's just a monster, man. When you look at him, if you see him in person, you would think he's like a 5-star football recruit, but he is insane at running the point guard position. He needs to work on his jumper, but there's not much else that he can do. And I think I could see Duke really prioritizing him as a prospect. He's just, like I said, you know, if you land Jordan Smith this year and you land Nazir Anderson the next year, it's 2 straight years of monsters in the backcourt, and that's the best way I can explain it.
I want it. Let's make it happen. Let's continue that full court press. Good to see Jon Scheyer out there doing his thing as we expect him to. I know also earlier in the week, he had the same kind of school type visit with CJ Rosser, another 2027 guy.
Like I said, 6'9", forward out of he went to Northern National. These kids transfer all the time, man. I'm so used to saying Northern Nash. He goes to Southeast Prep in Florida playing for David Peavy, but you know, consensus top 5 player in the country, a dude who can stretch the floor, and he fits that Duke prototype. Duke has had players like him in the past, but they may have been more physically ready for the college game. I think about like a Jason Tatum or a Jabari Parker. You know, those dudes were physically ready for the college game. But
you're good. You're good on the Duke comparisons. You got it, man. You remember these.
He could be of the same mold, but his body has to fill out, because once his body fills out, the skill, like all the skill, comes into the forefront. But a dude who can play that 3 and 4 position, loves to float from behind the 3-point line, and can stretch the floor in the front court. So, you know, he's somebody who's going to take a little bit of time, but all the skills are there that translate to the highest of levels, for sure.
I'm excited to see what kind of 2027 class that Jon Scheyer could put together, stacking up after a 2026 class with it changing so much year by year. You got to see what the transfer portal is going to do with the college game. But it's interesting what you said there at the end. These high school players, even, just for Duke fans to be aware of, they're changing schools left and right all the time too, right? From your perspective, you're in this every single day, Brandon, covering this. I mean, is it truly year after year you're seeing tons of players on the move, even in high school?
Yes, and then it's probably only going to get more hectic and more active
really
as the years go by, just because I think no matter the level of basketball, I think we're sensing like a change among the sport, whether it's NBA, college, or high school, but mainly college and high school. I think we're going to see a big change just with so much player movement, with the game being so player driven, the NIL space. It's just like kids want to play against the best. And, you know, I think we're starting to gear more towards that European vibe of things, where we're going to see kids just go to basketball academies and focus more on, you know, their basketball careers than academics within itself. And so, you know, all this transferring can be a product of it, whether it's NIL related, basketball related. I mean, these kids want to play against the best and want to prepare themselves to be NBA players at the end of the day.
Because right now, would you say, I mean, like 14, 15 years old, we're starting to see players move across the country to go to various big-time basketball schools and that sort of thing. And there's a world in which in a couple of years it gets even younger than that.
Absolutely. Wow. I think, you know, America is going to start catching on to the European style. And, you know, I don't know how I feel about it, because, you know, like, obviously in society, you got to adapt to change, but it's just still some adjusting for me to get used to. I mean, like I said, I just butchered CJ Rosser's high school, and I'm not used to that. I mean, there's another kid in the class who's on his 5th high school, and he hasn't even started his junior season of high school basketball yet.
That's
you know
insane.
What I mean? So it's just a lot of moving pieces, but it's not really a red flag. It's just more like everybody is trying to figure themselves out in this new climate of basketball.
Yeah, I think about the European model, particularly in something like soccer. You know, I think about all the Premier League clubs having their big academies that players will grow up through when they're young, and to think about kind of shifting that towards basketball as well. What's so interesting to me, and this is where we will absolutely wave and celebrate the American flag, is that they're still always gunning for us when we get to the Olympics, man. Absolutely. It's still the USA coming out on, even though we might be trying to do a little bit more of that European stuff with starting up. It's like we're still the best in the world when it comes to the sport.
Absolutely. And I don't really see that changing anytime soon. Now, don't get it twisted. These countries are evolving.
They're getting better. Yeah.
They're coming with it. I mean, we got Euro MVPs now and everything, but at the end of the day, I mean, change is good. it's all going to work itself out in the long term. But it's just something for, college coaches, players, just anybody involved in the space, fans even too. We all just got to get adjusted to, and we all got to figure out, because right now we're just in the middle of this shifting point that everybody's trying to get a grasp on. And once everything comes to a halt, I think once there's some like familiarity with how the space works, I think everything will be fine.
He is Brandon Jenkins, national recruiting insider for 247 Sports. Of course, the Devil's Den is a part of the 247 Sports network that covers Duke athletics all the time. Promote your work, Brandon. How can people follow you and get tapped in? What do you want to shout out here?
Absolutely. At bjenkins247 at all platforms. And please follow 247 Sports and the CBS Sports YouTube channel for potential commitments. And we're also breaking down visits. I mean, these kids are canceling them, rescheduling them. You know how it goes. So for all the latest on anything recruiting, please follow 247 Sports. We have a good team over there working hard.
Good to see you, Brandon. We'll talk again soon, okay?
I appreciate you, JJ.
All right, that's Brandon Jenkins joining us here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Always love catching up with him and talking about everything going on in the world of Duke basketball. Comment down below what you think about this 2026 recruiting class that Duke is starting to build. Also 2027, never too early to get our eyes set on these future classes of Duke basketball. Go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe wherever it is that you get your podcast. As always, go Duke. I'll talk to you on Monday. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.